Hello my friends, it is Wednesday, welcome back. Today I have more than 3 segments for you in this video because more happened. But we will begin with Poland, Russian drones over Poland, and this outcomes from this incursion into Polish airspace. It has become bigger and bigger and bigger, and now 130 Chinese freight trains stuck at the Belarus-Poland border because Poland closed the entire border for freight trains and for everything actually with Belarus. But almost 90% of the Chinese freight exports or train export to the European Union go through Poland. I made that mistake a few videos ago saying that all of China's export goes through Poland, but no, it's only the rail export. So the mistake is corrected. After Poland closed its border with Belarus on September 12th, more than 130 trains from China were left stranded on the Belarusian side. The cargo is worth billions of euros, as about 3.7% of Chinese exports to the EU normally pass along this route. Companies are already seeking alternatives through St. Petersburg with onward sea transport or via southern corridor through Kazakhstan, the Caucasus and Turkey. Chinese carriers hope the blockade won't last long, but so far there's no word on when the border will reopen. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, because Poland is really flexing their muscles and showing that their priority is safety, not money, not business, but safety. Check this out. The State Border Guard Service of Ukraine reports that Russian troops have completely withdrawn from Belarus after the joint strategic drills of Zapad 2025. So, Ukraine claims that Russian troops have left with the equipment from Belarus, but Poland still keeps the border closed. Now, I'm all with Poland. The priority of national safety is number one. It's over money, it's over business interests. Let the Chinese trains wait, let everything wait as long as it's safe. And it is not safe right now. That's why China is a little bit panicking, because a very big amount of their Belt and Road initiative, if you know what that is connected to this land route. Now, connected to this topic, still we have the outcomes going out like a spider web from the Russian drones over Poland. Now NATO is ready to shoot down Russian planes. Why do I say NATO? Well, because first of all, Donald Trump said so very clearly. We're going to go through the video later in the UN meeting yesterday. Also Swedish Defense Minister Pål Jonson said that Sweden will shoot down any flying objects over its airspace that are there in violation. It's not only Sweden, it's also Poland. Polish Prime Minister Tusk declared that Poland will make a decisive action, and he later said that they will shoot down Russian jets if necessary. So that's Sweden, that's Poland, and that's Trump. We have major NATO members reporting they're ready to shoot down the planes, and it all comes out as a reaction to the Russian drones over Polish airspace. But continuing on this topic, this new segment now, I would call it the UN meeting, because yesterday there was a massive UN meeting, all of the UN members present, and some important stuff was said. We'll go through all of it, including some shenanigans, some really funny business that happened there. For example, the elevator breaking under Donald Trump, Macron being stopped because of Trump's motorgate. But first things first, important things first. So, here we have Margus Tsahkna, Estonian Foreign Minister, speaking at the UN meeting.
You can also see the radar screenshot, where Russia fighter jets entered, where they were, and how they went out. They were warned already before. There was a very clear communication on all different channels as well, visibly. And there was no response.
Also, he shows this photo, which is made by a Swedish Gripen from the cockpit, and this is the very specific Russian jet that flew over Estonian airspace. It shows the photos, shows another one, because 2 photos were made. So there's proof of everything that happens. And then straight after this, There is Zelensky, Trump answering press questions, and a very connected and important question comes towards Trump about the fighter jets in NATO airspace. What do we do? Do we intercept? Do we shoot them down? Well, I'll let the man speak.
Do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
I'm so glad to hear. Usually Trump spins the topic, gives us some garbage. But in this one, it's a clear answer. Yes, I do. We should shoot down Russian jets over NATO airspace if they are there in violation. But, this is good points to Trump on this one. But immediately after this, the press asks him about what are you going to do with Russia? I mean, when are you going to put your foot down? And Trump says, I'll let you know in about a month. So he immediately loses all the points I just gave him. Again, gives 1 month to Putin. Now, the issue with Trump saying that NATO should shoot down Russian jets is that Trump and Marco Rubio have two different opinions. Now, it shouldn't be like that. I mean, the most powerful country in the world, their communication should be thought through, connected, unified. Marco Rubio, a few hours after Trump stated that Russian jets should be shot down, Rubio says, I think you have seen NATO respond to these violations the way we always respond to them, which is when they enter our airspace or your defense zone, you go up and intercept them, which is, in conflict with what Donald Trump said. Now, some very controversial topics were brought up by Zelensky and by Trump, and I cannot hide them. They're about the European Union buying Russian oil and gas. I'm not here to give you any false image. It is an issue, and we're going to watch a portion of Trump's speech here. Check it out.
They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that.
So yeah, Trump is saying pretty much, and the communications have come out, that he is ready to impose sanctions on Russia if European Union stops buying Russian oil and gas. Now, I usually don't agree with Trump at all. I don't like his methods or his style. I think he's a child, shouldn't be leading a country. But the thing is, I also don't like European Union buying Russian oil and gas. They should stop. Now, we have stopped in the Baltics, Finland, Poland, all stopped. But we have two countries, Slovakia and Hungary, who are buying everything they can from Russian fossil fuels, everything that still is possible. Now, Ukraine has rendered some of the pipelines completely destroyed, but still oil flows to Hungary and Slovakia through southern routes through Turkey, which is really bad. And they should stop. And Donald Trump also said that he would personally talk to Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary, to stop it. Because this is, European Union fighting Russia while pumping money into Russian budget to make war on European Union. It is stupid, like he said, like Trump said. I'm surprised that I agree on him on this. Now, after this meeting, Trump made a post to his social media platform Truth Social, and he rambles about all the stuff there. Usually, it's no point in reading anything out, but every now and then, some of the information is something that I want to highlight. And this specific post, I'll read it to you because it's a very big contrast to his previous stance on the EU and Ukraine. Check it out. After getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it's causing to Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. With time, patience and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where the war started is very much an option. Why not? Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. Now, this is a reality. A real military power. I mean, Russia truly was a paper tiger. They proved it to everybody. What was an issue is that Trump did not see that for the longest time. Now, this post here, I might have a slight hope that he's disillusioned about Putin. Who knows? Time will show. I will continue reading. This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it is very much making them look like a paper tiger. When the people living in Moscow and all of the great cities, towns and districts all throughout Russia find out what is really going on with this war. The fact that it's almost impossible for them to get gasoline through the long lines that are being formed, and all of the other things that are taking place in the war economy, where most of their money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has great spirit and only getting better. Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form. Who knows, maybe even go further than that. What is that going to? I don't know. Don't ask me. What Trump shows with this post to everybody is that he knows about the economic troubles of Russia. You know, Trump is in an information bubble. The real information doesn't really get to him, especially that he got his information from Putin about the war, which was total lies. Well, now he has information about the long gas lines in Russia. And immediately tweets about Ukraine having a shot of winning this war shows that he is a little bit disillusioned about Putin, or found that some of the info has been lies that have been fed to him. Who knows? But it's good signs. We will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with them. Good luck to all. He's so weird on that. But yeah. I read it because I think it signifies a little bit of a change of his attitude. Now, to summarize this UN meeting, I will read you all important key points from Zelensky and from Trump that came out of the UN meeting. Zelensky: we will continue until Russia stops this war. Zelensky: thanks to American support, Ukraine has deoccupied 360 square kilometers of territory. Trump: we hold great respect for the fight Ukraine is waging. It's just wonderful. His wording is so bad, considering the context. Trump: NATO should shoot down Russian planes if they enter their airspace. Trump: I think Orban will stop buying Russian oil if I talk to him, and I will talk to him. Trump: the Russian economy is collapsing. The Ukrainian army is doing well in stopping this big army. The Russian economy is collapsing. If that comes out of Trump's mouth, that means that he no longer gets his information from Putin, which is really good, because that was the case. And finally, Trump: it looks like the war in Ukraine will go on for a long time. Again, this information here also signifies that he is a bit disillusioned from Putin's informational sphere, which is always good news. Okay, we'll go back to serious topics, but I want to give you very quick shenanigans that happened in the UN meeting. You know, this is the UN headquarters in New York. Trump is walking. There's an elevator, escalator, however you call it, and he steps on it. Check it out. Immediately as he steps on it, he brakes. It stops. And they have to walk up. They're like, what's going on? And you know what's the funny part about this? Supposedly the UN staff joked that they were going to do this and then blame it on the fact that Trump isn't funding them. Yeah, it's okay. I will not waste your time on this, but this was just funny. Now, also, French President Emmanuel Macron, while heading to the UN headquarters, was stopped by police because of Trump's motorcade that was also heading there.
I'm sorry, President. I'm really sorry.
So they're telling the president of France, sorry, you cannot get past because our president is driving on the road and you got to stop. You got to walk. And that's what he did. By the way, he immediately called Trump one-on-one on the phone saying, hey, what the hell, man, I got to walk 30 minutes because of your motorcade.
Guess what?
Check it out.
I'm waiting in the street because everything is closed for you.
I'm waiting because everything is closed because of you. It's funny, he immediately called him and then walked for 30 minutes. I'll end with the UN meeting segment with information from Washington. They don't like our stance. I say Baltic, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they don't like our stance on Putin. Washington noticed Estonianization of European foreign policy. The Trump admin considered Baltic states dangerously aggressive in their stance towards Putin. At a recent high-level Pentagon meeting, Baltic officials were accused of ideologizing their opposition to Russia. Estonianization of European foreign policy. Thank God. I think somebody's finally waking up. I'm talking about the European leaders if they listen to us even a little bit, there's a chance for freedom and democracy to survive in Europe. I hope the Estonianization continues and even spreads to the US. Because we see the Russia for what they are, not as some other countries see them. My friends, now it's time to mention and give credit to Buy Me a Coffee monthly members. But first of all, I'll read you the best comment from previous video. We were talking about the Estonian air defense capabilities, and I showed you exactly what we have. We don't have much, honestly. So this is why we really can shoot down Russian jets, but only our maximum range with Mistrals is 8 kilometers. That's it. We don't have anything longer ranged. So, Matrios JN1QX, that's the name of the channel, says, also NATO evidently has yet another problem. You cannot have different NATO countries rotating in different areas with different policies toward aggressors. He's talking about the fact that right now Italian F-35s are in Estonia. They switched 1st of August. Before that, some other country was in Estonia. They switch after every 6 months to secure Baltic airspace. That's a bad deal. It creates predictable weak points and also unpredictable flashpoints. That's true. The switch is also always a weak point, and Russia knows it. Thank you for the good comment. Now I gotta mention some Buy Me a Coffee members. We have 4 new ones. It's always good. They usually have 1 or 2. Now we have 4. David Kantara. And then we have a big member now, Peet Blunt Bome. Peet means beet, like the beetroot, the food you eat, beet. So Peet, in Estonian it means beet. Mr. Beet, thank you for becoming a big member. Antoni Voiles. And finally, Laura Emerick and Samuel Davis together. Thank you. It's actually 5 people then. The last one is a couple, I guess. Thank you for joining up as a family. This next segment is about Moldova. Moldovan elections will happen in 4 days on 28th of September. Moldova has a Russian separatist region of Transnistria that borders Odessa. So, if pro-Russian party wins those elections in 4 days, that will be a staging ground for invasion to Odessa from Russian-controlled Moldova. That's what's an option there, and in 4 days we will find out. Why am I talking about it? Because there is massive interference of Russia in Moldova right now. SVR, Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, threatens the Republic of Moldova. So SVR reported this, and I quote them, "Europe is preparing to occupy Moldova. Is it now clear to everyone that Russia is prepared to do absolutely anything to prevent a victory for pro-Europeans in 5 days' time?" So they're spinning this, as they do in Russian propaganda. The issue here is that Russia is funneling hundreds of millions of dollars through sanctioned banks and crypto to Moldova to hire people to spread disinformation, spread the narrative, for example, that the pro-European party of Maia Sandu is definitely going to lose, no point in voting for them, and it's an occupation of European Union, yada, yada, yada. They're pushing a lot of money. BBC has even a photo. This is a meeting of one of these groups who were briefed in this meeting of how to spread disinformation and what narratives to push. And this is just the BBC has a massive amount of evidence that Russia is very openly funneling massive amount of money, even weapons, and even Moldovans living in Russia to travel to Moldova and create chaos and heedlessness ahead of the election. By the way, 2 days ago, Moldovan police raided over 250 locations in all of Moldova. It led to 74 arrests with weapons, ammo and training gear seized. These groups, hired and paid by Russia, were weaponized. They were ready to use live fire ammunition. This is not only a disinformation campaign, this is a brute force tactic that they're using in Georgia to a great effect, to be used in Moldova. Now, in 28th of September, the fate of that country will be decided, and also why is it connected to Ukraine will be when or if, If the pro-Russian party wins in Moldova, check it out, Moldova is right here, Transnistria is right here, Russia will transfer some forces to Transnistria and start pushing to the Odessa from the western side, forcing Ukraine to reallocate some troops from the front to the western side of Ukraine, meaning Russians can push on the front also. This elections in 4 days will have direct implications on the front lines, because Ukraine will have to move tens of thousands of their units if the pro-Russian candidate wins. Now, my friends, I'll bring you all of the new information from the front lines. Some areas Ukraine is doing quite good. Some areas Russians are pushing very aggressively and Ukrainian units are retreating. So we have good and bad and the ugly, everything in this one. First of all, we begin with the Sumy, the northern front, the northernmost front right here. And it's good news because, as you can see, Kindrativka, Ukrainians are pushing out of that. This line here is a water reservoir and Russians are right now actively trying to cross it with assaults. I don't know why they're doing it. It doesn't make any sense to do that. What it would make sense is to try to go around, but they're actively trying to assault it, cross it under fire. I think it's a political order. Anyway, I will read you a report from a Russian source from Sumy offensive. Russian sources describe the situation in Sumy region as dire. Near Kindrativka, repeated attempts to cross the reservoir ended in disaster. Why are they trying to cross in the first place? I'm not a tactician. I would never order to cross men under fire on a water body, over a water body like that. Ended in disaster, with assault groups forced forward only to fall in the same place as those before them. In Alexivka, fighting has reached the southern outskirts of the city, center of the village, where the 810th Brigade and the 30th Motor Rifle Regiment are locked in what they called heroism, but is described as a meat grinder. Alexivka, this settlement right here, fighting is happening on the southern outskirts of Alexivka, and actually Alexivka has been pushed now to the gray zone, and Russians and Ukrainians are fighting in the urbanized area already. Obviously, everyone will get killed. The Ukrainians are pressing hard, and we don't even have proper reconnaissance. We're completely screwed. This is a Russian report from Russian Telegram. It's very dark. But hey, it's not so rosy for Ukrainians on other fronts. It's just Sumy that they're doing quite good, and the natural barrier of the water reservoir is helping the Ukrainians. But we go to another front, which is towards Pokrovske. Not Pokrovsk, but Pokrovske. It's on the eastern front and it's quite close to Pokrovsk. But in Pokrovsk area, right, Ukrainians are fighting back really good. This is the Dobrobilya pushback. But in Pokrovsk area, I will show it to you one moment so you know where it is. Pokrovsk is right here. And as you can see, this Russian push here has been surprisingly effective. I will go back. So this is the last 10 days. Keep in mind on these Russian movements. They're pushing very effectively towards Pokrovske, and in this settlement of Ivanivka right here, this is the first location after the Dobrobilya breakthrough that has been pushed back now, where the Russians actually crossed the Donetsk line. The Donbas line. The Donbas line, it doesn't show on this map, but it spreads like that. It is first fortifications of barbed wire, anti-tank ditch, dragon's teeth. Russians have crossed it. It's the second place, and the first place was pushed back near Pokrovsk, but this is the second place towards Ivanivka, and they did cross it. Very bad news for the Ukrainians, and in the last 10 days, Russians have advanced all across this 50-kilometer area right here towards Pokrovske. Ukrainians don't have an answer to it right now. The Russians are advancing, that's the truth. Just to show you exactly where the line is, this is Ivanivka. This is a better map actually, and Russians crossed it right here. The majority of the Donbas line is not manned, because to man that line, it's a very long one. You would need an additional 250,000 troops. What the Ukrainians do is they have these drone bubbles dotted across this line, and when Russians cross in one area, there's nothing to push it back. Ukraine can push back attacks usually with their elite brigades, 3rd Assault or 1st House of Corps, which are in Pokrovsk area, not this Ivanivka Pokrovske area. Sorry for the confusion, these two cities are named very similarly, Pokrovske and Pokrovsk. Alright, so to end the confusion, we will now go to Pokrovsk. See this city right here, and this is the Dobropilya pushback, as they call it now, and I'll give you the report, what happened here. Ukraine pushes forward in Dobropilya direction. The armed forces of Ukraine continue to advance. 164.5 square kilometers have already been liberated. Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrskyi reported. In the last 24 hours alone, control was restored over 1.3 square kilometers, with search and clearance operations covering 2.1 square kilometers in the Pokrovsk district. Assault units moved forward by 200 meters to 2.5 clicks in certain directions. And why are Ukrainians able to push it back, but not push it back a little bit south in the Pokrovsk, as we just watched, is because, well, the first Azov Corps is here, one of Ukraine's most elite assault units, collection of assault units that there is. With that unit, wherever they are sent, Ukraine pushes back. The issue is that they cannot be everywhere all at once. They push back this Dobropilya area, while Russians are gaining ground towards Pokrovske a little bit south. That's how it is. Now I'll read you, we looked at the good, we looked at the bad for Ukraine and the ugly. Now I'll read you a report from a former leader of the Donetsk veterans. It's Pavel Kubarev, full Russian propagandist and ideologist. And I'll quote him. For some reason, there are more and more doom posting. For more and more officials in Russia are stating things as they are. It's very dangerous right now, but they do it. I quote, I would add to Rogozin's words that on many sections of the front, we are attacking while the enemy is defending. Because of this, we are suffering incomparably heavy losses. The armed forces of Ukraine are completely satisfied with their current situation and do not particularly need any peace. Considering their effective work against our oil refineries, with 26% of production destroyed, and the situation created is strategically beneficial for them. At the same time, state propaganda continues to mislead the public as if the Ukrainian army is faltering and we will soon win. In reality, the current situation is already tantamount. What is that word? Tantamount to defeat for us. Russia does not have the capability to complete the special military operation with the achievement of set goals and victory under the colonial system of the current government. Now, this comes from a source that has been in the system, that has been in the grind ever since 2014. He has led some of the militias in the Donetsk and Donbass area back in the day, so he knows what he's talking about. And his words really do not agree with the Russian propaganda. Now, another source I will bring to you, I quote, drones have made attacks impossible. Any equipment that appears within 20 kilometers of the front line burns. An assault group that's 3 to 5 men, middle-aged, moving across mines step under the buzzing of drones, and advancing is impossible. This comes from former chief cosmonaut of Russian and ex-head of Roscosmos, Dmitry Rogozin. Two very senior sources in the Russian system, whatever you want to call it, military, private military company, militias, in that system, they have been there over decades, more. They are talking this dark stuff, reporting it against the Russian propaganda, giving us a glimpse of what's really happening. Now, this being said, you know that there are some really dark sectors for Ukraine, and there are some sectors that they are actually actively pushing. Now, my friends, will go a little bit back in time, 1 month actually. 20th of August, there was a strike in the Malkino base, and you can see it on the Black Sea coast right here. We didn't have any photos. I reported that strike, but no photos, no pic, no proof. Now we have leaked photos, somebody leaked them, and the strike was painful enough for Russia and big enough. It used over 10 Ukrainian long-range drones. I want to talk about this. Pictures have been leaked showing destroyed warehouses at the Russian Malkino base in the Krasnodar region, Russia. The base is home to the 1st Guards Missile Brigade. According to the pictures released by the Telegram channel Dossier Spiona, at least one Iskander missile system and 5 loaders were destroyed. A Pantsir S1 air defense system was damaged. So yeah, finally we got a pic of this. Today night, so when you were sleeping and when I was sleeping, we were sleeping like babies. Well, in Moscow, Russians claim that they shot down 32 Ukrainian drones because there was a massive drone attack against Moscow. Russians claim they shot down this big amount. They're really proud about that. Oh, look at our air defense, so capable. But then we have this Moscow resident discovering a Russian air defense missile in his apartment that came through the ceiling. So I don't know if they shot down the Ukrainian drones or fired their air defense towards their own citizens' apartments. But to wake up to this missile next to your bed, very Russian experience. This has been it, my friends, for today. I will be back for you on Friday covering all of these topics again. You know, some of the topics need many videos because first you get the preliminary information. Then everybody reacts to it, giving us reactions. Then more information comes out, the information matures, you gotta talk about it again. It takes time. So I'll cover it all again on different angles on Friday. I'll be back for you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And until then, Slava Ukraini and bye-bye.